Well, hello and welcome, everyone. This is episode number 17 of Leaders Fuel Daily podcast. And I'm so excited to be on here today with Melissa Fossett. And Melissa, you have a really cool entrepreneurial story that I'm looking forward to hearing. And, I think about that. We do live in great times from the standpoint of these are great days for someone to launch out in an entrepreneurial business. And at any time in history, every single entrepreneurial business started with an idea.
Yes.
Someone got an idea to do something and then they went out and made it happen. And that is definitely your story. And I want to hear about that. And I have to say, Melissa, what I'm enjoying about this is the variety of different ways in which people have created an entrepreneurial
Mhm.
life. And you have a really unique way that you've done it and fulfilling a great need. So thanks for being a part of this. I appreciate you for being on here. And what I'd love to hear, so just kind of by way of just introducing yourself and so I've said everyone now knows you're an entrepreneur, but I didn't tell them what you do.
Right.
So just how did you get to doing what you're doing now and what is it? And let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on today, Rick. I'm real excited to be on here sharing with you. So I started my business last June. It's Creative Minds Tutoring. I started as an LLC um, through the state of South Carolina. And really, I was working with Greenville County Schools,
Hmm.
and COVID hit, March 2020 and threw everything into a tailspin.
Hmm.
There was a lot of unknowns. And so just kind of looking ahead and seeing kind of some of the challenges that would bring,
Hmm.
I knew that a lot of families would end up needing help with their students
Yes.
and not sure of how everything was going to fall in place with the changes with the school
Hmm.
system and all that. So I thought, this is a great time to start a
Yes.
business like this.
Hmm.
And so I just did some research, figured out what I needed to do to start an LLC and
Hmm.
got it going. And really, I love working with kids. I started many years ago. I homeschooled my own kids for 7 years.
Hmm.
And so I got to see that one on one interaction. And both of my children are very different. So I also saw the different learning styles
Yes.
and that they could both be successful with different types of tools based on how they learned best.
Ooh,
And
you're speaking to my
that's
heart right
really
now.
what I focus on
Yes.
is I'm going to sit with a child. I'm going to get to know who they are, their personality.
Hmm.
Not every child learns the same way. We
Hmm.
can't put them all in the same box and expect that they're all going to comprehend the same information. So whether they're a visual learner or auditory learner, kinesthetic, um, I just kind of gauge that and then I create lesson plans based upon that. And that's really rewarding for me because I can watch the child um, grow in their understanding of the concept. So,
So a student with you is getting their own essentially IEP, right? They're getting their own plan that
yeah,
you're crafting per the student. And by the way, what I find in what I do as a business coach so often is that it's not we don't change our learning style when we're adults, meaning
right,
that part of being successful in a business or working well with other people is understanding the different ways in which people learn and their different
exactly.
personalities and with the mindset that everyone can be successful.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's and you may or may not know this about me. My master's degree is in experiential education. And that came because I was doing therapeutic wilderness camping with emotionally troubled boys, which I did for 8 years. And what I got to see in that time was that there are these kids here and they are brilliant.
Yes.
And I didn't always feel that they were brilliant at every moment. Let me be honest about that. But
Yeah.
but they're very smart. But most of them had bombed out in a traditional
Yeah.
classroom. And
Yes.
that's what really turned me on to the idea of different kinds of intelligence that we possess.
Yes.
And that it is the traditional ways of doing things can be very limiting because they tend to be geared more heavily towards one style versus another.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it's a little, the deck's a little bit stacked. But the point is everyone can learn. And,
Yes.
and, and listen, what's also been fascinating for me is the number of people who did not finish school or didn't
Mhm.
do well in school who are doing phenomenally well in life.
Yes.
And so a lot of the ways that we measure things, they're important because we need structure and we need to have goals and we need to be able to move towards something and have a way of differentiating and measuring things. But they don't really tell us all the information, do they, about what a person
Right.
is capable of. So let
Absolutely. Yeah.
so let me ask you this. As far as just doing this as a business, have there been some surprises that have come along the way, just in terms of establishing a business and maybe kind of the difference between what you maybe envisioned it to be and what it's how it's turned out? I'm not suggesting that there is, but is there anything what have you learned along the way and what surprised you along the way?
That's a great question. I think one thing that I'm learning is I really have to specify my business and what I do. I get a lot of questions about, can I tutor high schoolers or can I tutor in algebra? Or I got someone the other day, pre-calculus.
Mm-hmm.
And so just being able to be honest and work through those issues and say, no, I don't tutor in this subject, but I might be able to find someone that can.
Yes.
Um, and so for me, it's really just targeting my market, which is elementary level
Mm-hmm.
kids,
Mm-hmm.
and talking to families and figuring out if it is a good fit or not. Every child is different,
Mm-hmm.
and you touched really well on the different intelligences
Mm-hmm.
that children have. Every child is smart, and I tell them, you can be successful. We just have to give them the right tools, which
Yes.
is not always out of the same toolbox as every other child.
Love that.
So that's why I love sitting down and talking to them and just having a conversation, figuring out how they best learn and their personality and who they are. And so just, yeah, with business, it's a lot of people that are interested, but they may not necessarily sign up for my services. And so
Mm-hmm.
again, just targeting people that find the value in what I'm doing, and really committing to working with them and their children. So
Have you, are you, where do you feel like you are in terms of what you expected in terms of the volumes of the number of students that you're working with now versus what you might have expected that you would be doing? Where is that? Where are you in that equation right now?
um, I'm actually probably further along now than I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, I thought people would call and just want, some help with their homework after school or something. Um, but again, with COVID, when the kids were not in school full time starting out, I actually had my own little co op school. So I had a bunch of families that needed help, and I was facilitating their lessons online and providing just that overall structure for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that morphed into relationships with these families where now I'm still tutoring some of their kids after school. Um, I work with homeschool families.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids that are home, I go in there and help them. And it's been really exciting to see all of the different ways that families need help. And so it's growing. I would love to see it continue to grow, and um, just keep helping as many people as I can. So
And as it grows, is it your intention that there will be other teachers that will be involved in this, and other that you will have a team of teachers, or do you already have that by chance? Or
that's a great question.
yeah.
Yes, that is my vision. As this grows, I would love to personally hire on some more teachers, tutors. Again, someone that takes the approach of looking at the child as a whole, as their learning style, what's best for their personality and
Mhm.
can provide those tools. I'm not a teacher that's just going to go pull a workbook off a bookshelf and stick it in front of the child. There's a lot of different modalities. Like you said, I am creating like an individual curriculum, or IEP, which stands for individual education plan for that child.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, they're getting the whole spectrum of whether it's math or reading or writing, of here's where they're at and here's the goal of where I want to get them to go. And probably the most rewarding thing for me now is that every student I've worked with has improved their grades by a whole letter grade. So
Oh, wow.
I'm
That's
very happy about that. Yes.
that's outstanding. That's good,
Yeah,
good, a way to show the return that people are getting on what they're doing.
right, for sure.
So, let me ask this question. What is it like for, this is a two-part question. What is it like for a student and what is it like for a parent? In other words, how does the flow of a day go? If someone is going to work with you, how do they engage with you? When do they engage with you? And how does that work from a student and a parent standpoint?
Yeah, so great question. I want tutoring to be all inclusive, the parents and the student. And that doesn't mean the parents sit and stay in the room with me necessarily, but when I go in, I will do an assessment and observation,
Hmm.
where I'll talk to the parents and ask them about their child and any concerns they have or what goals they have for that student. And then it's just regular communication with the parents. So I'm going into their environment where the child is usually most comfortable. And we have our own little space, and I work with them and just communicate with the parents. Hey, here's what we're doing. If you have any questions, sometimes they'll have maybe a reading test or a spelling test coming up. They want me to work specifically with them on that. So it's just about communicating, having open communication, and just informing the parents of what I'm working on with their students and seeing if there's anything specific they want me to work with their child on. So,
So that as a parent, if I'm a parent of a student, I'm getting a lot of interaction with you and I'm getting a lot of communication with you, and
right.
that, um, I could see how that could be immensely valuable
Yeah.
for someone. So if I'm working with you as a student, am I also going to school otherwise, or am I only working with you?
It's both. So I work, like I said, with homeschool families
Hmm.
where they may have somewhat of a curriculum in place that I'm helping implement,
Hmm.
or they're allowing me to create something and trust that I'm um, working with their student in that way,
Sure.
to make sure that those goals get met.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's a good mix of students that have something specific that they're working on in school.
Hmm.
And I'm basically just helping enhance that, really focusing on, again, whether it's reading or math. And so I will work with what they're learning in school, but then kind of add my own tailor made
Yes.
um, plan to that. So,
So it's really, what I hear from what you're saying, it's very individualized or very customized to the student, and almost a bit of a sort of concierge, maybe like a la carte service, and it's in a way, in that you
yes.
can do it at different levels. I may not be using the proper words there, but that I can, there seems to be different levels at which people can be engaged with you and what your services are.
Yes, there is definitely a good variety. I mean, I want to be of service to this child and to their family. So if the parents are particularly concerned about a certain challenge or want their child to really excel in a certain area, I want to be able to accommodate that accordingly,
Hmm.
whether that is, helping with homework or creating something myself to help the child. And yeah, I've done a variety of modalities with kids that are in private school, public school, homeschooled, um, all different grades, from kindergarten up through 6th grade. And sometimes I even end up being a counselor, so to speak, if the kid's struggling with an issue at school, and they want to talk to somebody. I like to be a sounding board and just comfort them. And again, let them know that, um, I've been a kid too. I've been through school, and they can be successful. They're smart. They're brilliant. They have gifts and talents unique to them, and they can do this. So.
Nice. So you talked earlier about your intention to expand this and to have other teachers come in. Do you have a pretty good sense about what would be some tipping points at which you'd be ready, you'd need other people involved, and a capacity for yourself and for other people? Have you considered some of those eventualities?
I have, yes. And, tutoring is a little bit of an ebb and flow business, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, families want you for a certain period of time. Sometimes they want it to be long term. So I envision if I get to a point where my schedule is just so full
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting more people that want my services and I just cannot take that on, then I would look to hire other people, and we would, in a sense, divide that up and figure out, who's the right match for each family, and set our schedules that way. But yeah, I have a great vision even of having my own space and having like what I call a learning studio. I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like the idea of, just a typical tutoring center, but a place where they can come, and there's books and there's artwork, and there's just an open space for them to learn, again, however their learning style suits them. So that hopefully is not too far off in the future, but yeah, we'll see how things go.
Outstanding.
So,
Outstanding. Well, what is for sure is that anywhere that this goes out, people are going to have some more information about you, and also a way to get a hold of you,
yeah.
and that'll be included. But now tell us, I know you said the name earlier, but say again exactly the name of your school, and as anything else that you want to tell us about your business, and the services that you provide, and what how people can interact with you.
Yeah, so it's Creative Minds Tutoring LLC. I
Mm-hmm.
am out of Greer, South Carolina, but I do go into homes within a 30-minute radius of where I live. So Simpsonville, Greenville, Travelers Rest, Taylor's, Greer. Um, as long as it's within 30 minutes one way, then I'm happy to go into those homes. I actually just got approached about doing a virtual student who actually lives out of state. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, absolutely. Let's figure out how to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, again, really, it's a great way to have someone personal come in and work with your child in your home environment where they're comfortable, and get to know them, tailor make this to their personality, and just help them succeed and excel with the right tools. So,
Outstanding. Are there any, so you mentioned, of course, the upper level education or the high, but within the elementary range, are there any subjects that you don't do, or any things that you wouldn't address within a sort of any traditional model of education?
no, really nothing's off the table as far as the elementary goes. My degree is in elementary education,
Mm-hmm.
so I can touch on all the subject areas. And I even was teaching in a computer lab at an elementary school. So even kind of just your beginner, computer skills and all that, I'm happy to help with that too. So, but I love English. I love writing. I love books. So that's really my forte,
Mm-hmm.
helping a child read and understand good literature. And how to write. I think writing sometimes is a lost art in our culture. And
Mm-hmm.
so really helping them just tap into their imagination and create some great stories or poems, or even just a book report for school, whatever it may be. But yeah, I love all the subjects and I'm happy to help with all of those. So.
Outstanding. Okay, so before we go, is there anything else that people need to know? Anything that maybe we've left out? I just want to make sure we haven't missed anything.
Well, I think I would just, being a business owner,
Mhm.
obviously you're taking risks and you're facing a lot of challenges. So I would say, even if you're not sure this is the right thing or you're just questioning it, just reach out to me anyway,
Mhm.
because I'd love to just have a conversation and talk about it.
Mhm.
And it may not be the right thing right
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
but at least we've had a conversation and you're aware of, what I do. And then maybe at some point in the future,
Mhm.
it'd be the right thing,
Mhm.
or you might know someone else that could really benefit from tutoring and working with me. So, yeah.
Outstanding. That is I'm so glad you said that. It's a very good point. Well, Melissa, it's been a real privilege to be on the line with you, and I just can't wait to get this out there so people can learn more about you and what you're doing. I think it's a wonderful thing, and you're obviously meeting a great need. So I'm glad that you've been involved with this podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate it.
You bet.